Welcome everyone to our Survive and Thrive Digital Dives 12 Tuesdays. I'm Rachel Perkins, the Education and Outreach Specialist for Texas Oncology Foundation. If you're a cancer patient, a caregiver, or a professional, and you want to educate yourself about the cancer world, we invite you to subscribe and join us every Tuesday. We are on our 7th Tuesday now, so we have 5 Tuesdays left for the next 5 weeks. So we are so glad to have you all with us today, and we're excited to hear from Leticia, Luke, and Julie, and we'll be discussing about traditions with the panel discussion, something new, something old, just a little bit more about holiday traditions. So just a little bit of a foundation intro. The Texas Oncology Foundation is dedicated to providing support to cancer patients in the communities where they live, work, and receive treatment. Through Survive and Thrive programming, the foundation can provide educational events like this one and resources to help build community connections and support all affected by cancer. So I'm going to go ahead and have Luke introduce himself first. If you want to go ahead and get off mute, Luke, I'm ready when you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke. I am a caregiving partner to my beautiful wife, Angie. She was originally diagnosed with stage 2 in 2020 and then stage 4 in 2022. But we just have a great time together. And, being a caregiving partner is probably one of the best things about my life.
Thank you, Luke. Okay, Leticia, go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leticia. I'm from Austin originally. I currently live in Dallas with my husband. I was diagnosed with blood cancer in 2021, and I have now been in remission for 3 years as of last month.
That's exciting, Leticia. Thank you. And Julie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Julie. I am a clinical social worker with Texas Oncology. I am based out of Flower Mound, Castle Hill, so I'm just north of the Dallas area, and we're so glad you've all joined us tonight.
All right, so now that we know a little bit about our panelists, just want to tell you about our goal for this evening. When we're asking questions for the panelists, is just to kind of discover new ways to think about holiday traditions, new or ways that you can still do old holiday traditions, but maybe just with a little bit of a twist. So I'm going to start off with the first question. I have, Leticia, this one is specific for you, but of course everyone can chime in if they like to. Changes have you made or new traditions have you created since your diagnosis or your loved one's diagnosis?
One of the biggest changes I would say that I've made since my diagnosis is recognizing and honoring my limits. I used to be the one organizing family get-togethers. We would do a turkey trot in the morning before Thanksgiving, and I was just sort of everywhere at once. And now I prioritize just being intentional with my time, getting together with family, baking cookies with my husband, going to a Mavs game, and just learning to say no to things and recognizing when I'm low on fuel.
Does anyone have stuff to add to that? Anything new that you did after diagnosis?
Yeah, so one thing my wife and I did is, we get invited to a lot of Thanksgiving parties or Christmas parties, stuff like that. And, living immune compromised, it's kind of hard to not really have control over the guest list there. And so we've started hosting our own Friendsgiving where we can, kind of choose our guest list, choose people that know us and know not to come if you're sick. And it's been really lovely to keep that friendship alive and keep the community alive.
I think that's a great one where, I mean, it's kind of both the social battery that Leticia said, and then also being able to choose your guest list, like choose the people who fill your battery rather than kind of drain it, you know? I love that one. Julie, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it kind of just plays very well together with what Leticia and Luke have said. Um, when you can't maybe follow those same traditions you always have, know that it's okay to start new traditions. A tradition always starts somewhere. So this year may be the first year for a new tradition for you. If you can't do something you've always done, then that's okay. So if you have always made homemade gingerbread men cookies with your family for Christmas, um, that is a very long and arduous process. So if you need to go buy some store-bought cookies and decorate store-bought cookies, the end result is the same. You've still spent time with your family. You've still had that tradition of doing something together. You've just, like Rachel said, you've put a little bit of a twist on it. So know that it's okay to do that and give yourself permission to do that.
Okay. I did just put in the chat because I want to kind of see what everyone is interested in learning about. But what traditions do you want to modify this year? Go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'm going to ask the next question to our panelists. How do you manage expectations around the holidays, both for yourself and from others? And I'm going to go ahead and direct this to Julie first, just because I want to hear from a social worker perspective what it's like managing expectations.
Yeah, I think it can be challenging to manage your expectations, but I think it's also very essential. Um, Sometimes people feel a lot of pressure for everything to be like it's always been. And you may put that pressure on yourself, or you may feel that pressure from outside sources, but it's pressure just the same. And it's not always possible for everything to be the way it's always been. I do a lot of work with caregivers in my position. And so often I'll find that the caregiver of the patient in particular has a unique role because they're almost like the gatekeeper. And so they have to set those boundaries to make sure that their loved one isn't doing too much, isn't overextending. And that if a particular tradition that you have isn't feasible, then being able to say, that's not for us this year. That's just not something we can do. Something I tell people all the time is no is a full answer. And so if someone asks you or your loved one to continue to do something you've done in the past, you can just say no. No, we just can't make it this year. No, we'd love to, but that's not an option this year. And that's the end of your answer. And most people will respect that answer. So it's important just to remember that managing your own expectations is just a very vital thing for you to do during this time of the year.
Yeah, I can relate to that, especially being a caregiving partner around the holidays, hanging out with family. There's a lot of different roles you end up playing of, oh, I'm playing the role of the son or the brother or, the husband, but always at the back of it, I'm the gatekeeper and I'm the caregiver. So I am always, keeping tabs on Angie to see how's her energy level doing, how's her social battery, how's her health, but also just around the room too of, oh, is that person coughing? Oh, I got to watch out for that. Let's stay on this side of the room. Or has that person got a little sniffle? And so managing those feelings of like, oh, why are you leaving early? And it's just like, hey, we got to go.
I liked both of your guys' perspectives on caregivers. Leticia, do you have any thoughts on managing your own expectations?
Yes, definitely. I've learned that setting boundaries for myself is a form of self-care. And I've learned that it's okay to say, excuse me, to say no to things, and that the people in my life, they love me and they understand what I've been through. And they know that, I have the tendency sometimes to maybe overextend myself. And especially since my diagnosis, just recognizing that my energy levels aren't what they used to be, or that I'm susceptible to getting sick. I set that boundary for myself. If I know that I'm not feeling well or that I'm not in a place to be super social, and I know that my loved ones understand.
Yeah, I think that can be one of the hardest parts is making sure that you know your loved ones will understand and that you're not letting anyone down and there's no guilt there. So our chat is popping off. I'm just going to read a couple things to you guys. I did have someone say that this year I'm going out of state for Thanksgiving instead of spending time with my relatives. I love that. That's definitely a new tradition. It's a good one to get away. Someone else said this year I'm doing Zoom. I'm not traveling, taking some time for myself. I think that's a really good one, especially as immunocompromised. That's a great one. We have someone who's recently diagnosed, so they'll be spending time at home trying to digest the treatment, which is very valid, very valid. I know a lot of people can understand that one. And then I did have someone say, Luke, I know this is definitely towards you. It's a lot to host and be a caregiver. Healthy boundaries are a must. So I definitely think they resonated with you saying something about like having to check in on everyone. And I know we kind of discussed this a little bit previously, but would you mind explaining how you would choose people to come to your your Thanksgiving or your Friendsgiving?
Yeah, sure. The first thing is it's, people we love and people we want to be around and people that love us, that's first and foremost. Um, but second, it's people that really truly understand our diagnosis and understand what immune compromised means and understand that, hey, I've got a sniffle. I'm going to stay home in case this is something more serious. And around COVID time, it was, hey, are you vaccinated? Okay, well, you can come over then, so it's really it's part safety and just part who do we really want to be around? Who do we really want to spend our time with?
Yeah, it also allows you to limit how many people come over too, right? So that you're not
Yes.
hosting for like 25 people, you can host for just a few. Okay. Our next question.
Hey, Rachel, may I
yes,
just piggyback off of what Luke said?
of course, go ahead.
It just sprung into my mind, Luke, that I think often when you're in a position like this, you're cultivating those relationships that you do value. Instead of going to a huge family gathering with your second cousin twice removed that you see once a year, you'd really rather spend that time with people and in relationships that you truly value and want to cultivate. So I applaud you for that because I think that that is part of what you're doing as well, whether you realize it or not. So it's a great thing to do for you and your wife.
I totally agree. Okay, our next question is about burnout. So I'm going to ask the chat, how do you identify a burnout? But Leticia, I'm going to aim this one towards you first. So how do you handle burnout during the holiday season, especially since you talked about how you were the one who always planned everything and did everything? Tell me a little bit more about how you're able to prevent that.
So I take a moment at gatherings, check in with myself, ask myself like, how am I feeling? Where is my battery at? And if we've traveled somewhere, to go see in-laws out of state, or if we've traveled down to Austin to go see my family, sometimes I'll take a nap and, family will be watching football. And I think there's just a mutual understanding that, I might be tired or, um, I just don't have the energy to be awake throughout the entire gathering, especially if travel is thrown in there. Um, but communicating with my loved ones and letting them know, like, hey, I might take a nap. Like, can I crash in a guest room? Or sometimes I just fall asleep on the couch and, it's a little quick cat nap and I get woken up with cheering for football, which is totally fine by me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like you're still enjoying time with family, but you also get to rest. And they're just like, oh, that's Leticia. She's on the couch napping.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I think for me, burnout, it's a physical feeling. I feel it right at like my solar plexus, like right in my gut. It's just there's a Spoon song called Everything Hits at Once, and that's usually kind of what it feels like of like, man, all this stuff is going on at once. Being a caregiver, much like being a cancer patient, they're both full-time jobs. And so mixing that in with everything else for the holidays it can be a lot. And so, sometimes we will just cancel our plans and we'll just stay in and we'll do the things that, really recharge us. We'll watch a bad movie, we'll eat snacks and just cuddle and relax, and recharge that battery and get rid of that burnout and just forget the world just for a little bit.
Yeah, that's so valid that sometimes when you cancel plans, you feel bad. You feel like, well, now I can't do anything. So being able to be like, no, I'm going to do self-care so that I can continue, with my holiday calendar later on. I think that's really, really great that you guys do that.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, wherever we are, it's just exactly where we want to be. So if we go out, we're gonna have a good time, and if we stay home, we're gonna have a good time.
That's awesome.
I just would add to that often something I think people don't equate is that burnout has a lot to do with control. And when we're feeling very out of control in situations, that is often when we will start to experience that emotion of burnout or that feeling of burnout. Um, and so, one way to combat burnout certainly is to watch a bad movie and cuddle on the couch and eat some snacks. Some people, it's to take a nice hot shower and just go lay in bed. Um, but another way to handle burnout is I've already said this once because it's a line that I love: no is a complete answer. Um, and sometimes saying no to something puts you back in control of a situation. Instead of feeling like Rachel's mentioning, you might have guilt about, I can't do this, I can't do that, I've always done that, someone's going to be upset if I'm not there. Know that no is a complete answer and that it gives you control over the situation. Again, I'd love to be able to do that, but I can't. And people who care about you respect that for you. Um, so just remember that sometimes burnout is more than just being exhausted physically and mentally. It's also about having that sense of not being in control of the situation. And saying no to things is a way to give yourself some control back.
Yeah, when you get a cancer diagnosis, you feel like you don't have control over anything. So I like how you said being able to find some control or being able to say no, Julie. That's very valid. Oh, the chat's popping off again, so I'm going to just read a few things. We did have someone say, thanks, Luke. I needed to hear that. I always wanted to be in control, but was out of control and burnt out from it. So, and then we had someone, I asked, what do you do to feel in control of your holiday season? And someone said, I seek more solitude, which I love that too. Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. We only have a few left, so if you want to add a question to the chat, then go ahead and we will see if the panel would like to answer it. So first, our next question is, how do you decide which traditions to keep, modify, or let go? And Julie, I'm going to go ahead and have you start with this one, okay?
Yeah. I think, as I already touched on, traditions, there's a first time for everything, right? The tradition of somebody cutting down a tree and bringing it into a house. Don't know where that started, but it started somewhere a long time ago. So traditions start somewhere. So this may be a year for you to start new traditions for yourself. Maybe a year for you to modify traditions for yourself. Instead of running that turkey trot, watch it on TV. Or go and stand at the finish line to cheer on your friends and family who are still able to run it. That's a great way to keep that tradition alive, but you're not having to do the physicality part. I know someone that they always have had 3 trees in their home. This is one of my patients I counsel with. And this year they have made a decision to have 1 tree. And their grandchildren in the beginning were like, what? And then they said, we just can't do it. We're going to have 1 beautiful tree and we're all going to gather around it. And then everybody got on board and was like, oh, what a wonderful idea. We won't be separated. We'll all be together. And now it's like this wonderful thing. So, just because you've always had 3 trees, you don't have to have 3 trees. Just because you've always run the turkey trot, you don't have to. Just because you've always rung the bell for the Salvation Army, that used to be a huge tradition in our family. We don't do that anymore. We give money to the Salvation Army and buy an angel. So, there are ways to adapt your traditions, and adaptability, especially in the face of cancer, is really important. Really important to be able to be adaptable and to not have guilt over having to make those adaptations.
Yeah, for me, not to go all Marie Kondo here, but I keep the ones that bring me joy and try to get rid of the ones that give me a little anxiety. One hard thing is culturally, my wife is Hispanic, and so going to an event or a holiday party or anything like that, there's a lot of people, and they all want to hug and kiss. They all want to give you a hug and they all want to give you a kiss, and it's one of those, and it's a very tough thing as a caregiver to tell my wife, please don't hug and kiss your family because we don't, unless you're wearing a mask. And so it's stuff like that you kind of have to let go of and say, like, for now we got to do this a little differently and we'll wave hello. But there are plenty of things that we can still keep around because they don't freak me out. We just have fun.
Yeah, that cultural difference can be huge. We did have some people who were like, I'm also Hispanic, so they put the party hats on. And so a lot of people understand what you just said. Leticia, anything that you want to add to that?
For me, I think it's just finding a balance of, maybe like a larger gathering or holiday party, and then making time for myself and just time for me and my husband. I think balance is definitely key, especially, like Luke said, if you get invited to a lot of parties, or if there's just like holidays are a busy time, there's a lot happening amongst friend groups, coworkers, classmates, if you're in school, family, if you have a really big, close family, um, just, saying no to some things is okay. And, um, or even leaving a party a little early if you get burnt out, that is okay too.
Yeah, I think when we talked about this previously too, it was something along the lines of you just have to be a little bit more flexible, and that can be really hard. Yeah. So we did, again, the chat's still popping off, so I'm going to read a couple of these. And I think, Luke, this was before you said you choose the Maria Kondo way of doing it, but someone said, I've been thinking, was it a tradition or an obligation for me? That one is really good. Was it a tradition or an obligation? Was it something that I enjoyed or something that I felt like I had to do? And then we had someone else say, I agree, one tree is way better, not 3. I'm glad you told that story, Julie. And then we just had someone say, I decided to buy an artificial tree opposed to a live tree. This is a hard one. So I will be having my second round of chemo Thanksgiving Eve. It will be decorating the tree and giving away 3 families food boxes for the holidays. So that is a fantastic way to celebrate or create a new tradition. So I love that you're sharing your new traditions with us. Okay, we have our last question of the evening. So again, if you guys have any specific questions for the panelists, or you have, maybe you have a tradition that you've done in the past that you're just like, okay, maybe I need some help thinking of a different way to do this. We have 3 very beautiful points of views, and people have been through this, so they might be able to help. So our last question is, what advice would you give to others facing similar holiday challenges due to a diagnosis? And Julie, I'm going to have you go ahead and start with this one.
Okay. I would say first and foremost, give yourself permission to not feel guilty. That is much easier said than done. But really try to do that. Try to allow yourself to say no. Try to allow yourself to, if it doesn't feel right this year, then skip it, and Allow yourself the ability to do that. And remember that people love you and they understand what you're going through, and they're going to appreciate that you're in a position where you can't do everything. As far as traditions go, I would say traditions are about the connections we have with people. It's not about the specific thing that we do. That's why you can buy a store-bought cookie and decorate it with sprinkles, the same as you can make 3-day gingerbread men, and it means the same thing. I told Luke and Leticia before we did this, I used to make the gingerbread men from scratch that literally took 3 days, and I think that it was an obligation, not a tradition, because now we do cut and bake, and my kids are all old now, but they're like, yeah, whatever. Why were we doing it the other way? I'm like, I don't know. So give yourself permission to do things the easier way, the simpler way. Allow yourself that ability to say no without guilt. I would say that's probably the biggest challenge you're going to face during the holidays, is allowing yourself to say no without the guilt.
Yeah, I think from a, caregiving partner perspective, there's a thing of like, hey, we have to prioritize our health first and foremost. And so that's always the first thing I bring in. But the other part of that is, before the holidays, I can tell myself and tell my partner, hey, whatever happens, we're going to have a good time. Other people, I can't control if other people have a good time just because I don't show up, like that's out of my control. But what I can control is I'm gonna have a good time over the holidays, and so is my partner. And so if you go into it telling yourself that, then you're gonna find ways to make that true.
I'll chime in as a survivor, as someone who, I call it BC, before cancer, as someone before cancer who loved to do it all, loved to be everywhere, would initiate gatherings and holiday parties. I remind myself that it's okay if holidays look different. And I know the FOMO can be strong, but I think there's um, peace that can be found when you modify your holidays to be more manageable, um, and still very fulfilling and fun.
I love the BC before cancer. Yeah, and I think that is really hard when you know you have to modify it and you're like, it's just time. It's time to modify it. Okay. So I'm gonna just read a couple things from the chat. We had someone who said, giving myself grace when I feel tired instead of pushing myself to keep up before diagnosis or treatment, which is what Leticia just said. She has lived through it. She's still living through it. And she said the same thing. She's like, I just have to give myself a little bit of grace. Then we have someone else who was talking about their caregiver. My husband has been my caregiver on this cancer journey, and he needs to have some relief. We are not doing any parties together. The actual holiday, we will FaceTime great grand and great grandkids. That's so fun, great grandkids. And the actual holiday we will be FaceTiming, maybe sometime with really close friends like Luke does, and youngest daughter and husband after the holidays have ended. No holiday shopping pressure. I think that's a big one. No holiday shopping pressure is huge relief. And I've seen families do it a couple different ways where they'll just have like you only have to buy for one person in the family, or you only have to buy one gift, but completely relieving that pressure is huge. So I'm glad that you're able to tell us that. Then we have, oh, this is another good one. My spouse is having a hard time with health boundaries. I will be repeating some of Luke's comments. So awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I'm just going to add one random question for you guys at the end. What is your favorite holiday tradition that you do? And then we'll go ahead and close it out if we don't have any more questions. And go ahead, Luke.
So one thing we do is here in Austin, there's a small neighborhood that does just like a big Christmas light show. And so I'll drive the car, and my wife and her friends will have karaoke mics, and we'll just drive around looking at the lights while they sing karaoke songs. And it's just, it's really great because it's with the people we love. We're just riding around the car with the windows down in the winter, which is not terrible in Austin. It's probably about 55 degrees. So, but yeah, that's been one of our real favorite new traditions is just drive around, look at Christmas lights, and sing karaoke.
Like caroling karaoke almost.
Mhm.
I love that. And you're in your car, so you just get to drive around. It's not as exhausting. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing, Luke.
We usually, so my husband's family has a cabin out in Arkansas that backs up to a river. It's very peaceful, very beautiful. So we've actually done this even before my diagnosis. Instead of going to like a New Year's Eve party, we will typically go out to the cabin and we'll just spend time out in nature, go hiking. We will, make a fire on the property and cook dinner. We'll watch movies and we'll just bring in the new year, the two of us.
That is so valid. I love how being able to connect to nature rather than trying to go out and like stay up till midnight, you can just reconnect to nature in the cabin. That's so lovely.
Yes, it's so fun. And when we don't do the cabin, we try to go to a new state park or national park just to get out and do something different. And it's nice because we can spend one day hiking and then the next we can just hang out at our Airbnb and be lazy.
Yeah. And starting off the new year with nature.
Yes.
In our household, I would say probably one of our traditions is we have to watch A Christmas Story every year. We must. My children can literally quote the entire movie. And that's just one of the best ones. And fragile, we have a fragile lamp. It's so dumb. And we love to go to church on Christmas Eve. It's a candlelight service, and that is just a very special service for us and our church family. And so those are probably our two biggest. We do it every year. Church on Christmas Eve, and then at some point in there we're watching A Christmas Story.
I love that.
I force Angie to sit through National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with me every year because that's my favorite Christmas movie.
And we do have a debate, and we do watch it at our house, whether or not the movie with Bruce Willis is a Christmas movie. Come on, Luke, help me.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. So the boys insist that is a Christmas movie. My daughter insists it's not, but we do watch it every year anyway.
All right, I'm going to read some from the chat, and then if anyone wants to get off mute and just say what their favorite holiday tradition is so far or that they like to do, feel free. So this one says, go see tree lighting. I love watching tree lighting, but sometimes they're so early in the month, man. I feel like when it's before Thanksgiving, it's a little bit hard. Watch Christmas movies, store purchase cookies. Yes. Yeah. They always get you when you first walk into the store. They have those pre-packaged cookies. I get those all the time. I'm from upstate New York, so Dallas is new to me. Welcome. Welcome to Dallas. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well. I said we're going to rent a cabin in Oklahoma as well. Oklahoma's only like 3 hours away from Dallas, and it's a really fun place to go. So you'll be unplugging and spending some time in nature, as Leticia said. Then we have some of our favorite movies that are out. Grinch and Elf. I'm an Elf girl. I love Elf. It's my favorite one. I watch it every year. And then some people said they still enjoy watching some old Christmas cartoons from the 60s and 70s. I love those like little claymation ones. You know what I'm talking about.
I have to second Rudolph. Yes, there's nothing better than Cornelius mining for his gold, silver and gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rudolph. I love Christmas movies. The best tree lighting is at the Galleria Mall. and Kyle Park. I did not know this, so I'm learning new things. This is in Dallas. Sorry for everyone who's not in Dallas, but that's the best tree lighting. And I do love that they're all free. Yeah. And so if anyone wants to come off mute, I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to see, because I know you guys are more of a chat group than an unmute group, but I'll give you about 30 seconds if you have anything you'd like to add or any traditions that you would like to talk about.
Hi, my name
Hi,
is
Valentina.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So before I got sick, I used to have, Thanksgiving and Christmas at my house, and all my siblings would come over to my house. And after I got a transplant, probably it's going to be 2 years now. And now I'm just like, no, someone's going to have to take the reins because it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So you did that full sentence, full send, no.
Yeah. My brother ended up doing Thanksgiving. I unfortunately have stopped talking to a lot of my family because they're very toxic, and it was really hard for me to heal with all their drama. So I now just been like, no. This is it. Like, this is my life, and I have to do things for my health, because I only have one life, and I fought so hard for it.
I think whether you have a cancer diagnosis or not, you do find the holidays, you're surrounded by family that you either adore or that you're like, I can stand you once a year. So it sounds like you just cut off the people who were no longer benefiting from seeing you once a year.
Exactly. I did what Luke said. I Marie Kondoed my life with the people around it.
We're going to just read a couple more and then I'll close it out. I have that my neighbor suggested that we rent a cabin since I'm from upstate New York and I miss the natural beauty of the God's nature. Yes, upstate New York is beautiful. Dallas just doesn't, I don't know. I'm also kind of new to Dallas. I'm 2 years into Dallas and I'm from Idaho. So the lack of mountains is a struggle sometimes. We had another person say we had to do the same thing. Valentina, I can empathize very much. So thank you for sharing, Valentina. You are not alone in having to cut a couple people out of your life. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Feel free to keep talking in the chat if you have something that you'd like to say. But I just wanted to thank everyone for participating today. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Leticia. We appreciate the time that you spent with us today and preparing for this panel discussion. Just a reminder, this session was recorded and will be sent to all registrants in the follow-up emails. And it will also be available on our Texas Oncology Foundation website, but only when we're done with the whole 12. So you'll get first access to the recordings. Make sure to like our Facebook page and stay current with our foundation there. Me and my coworker are the social media gurus, so we're very proud of our Facebook page, our Instagram page. We highly suggest that you visit us there. We do have some upcoming webinars. We have 5 left, so make sure to join us. Our next one is a nutrition webinar, so we're going to be going over how to read the back of a label of a few things that you're probably already bought for Thanksgiving or you're going to buy for Christmas. And then we also have our mentors and meetups this week. So if you guys are interested in doing a craft with others just like this, we'll have a group together, hybrid, and which means online and in person. We do have that available this Friday, and you can sign up for that online. Lastly, we value your feedback from our community. In the follow-up emails, you will be receiving a survey, so please take a moment. It's only a few questions long. Let us know your thoughts on the presentation today and topics that you think would be great for us to cover in the new year. So thank you guys so much. If my panel wants to come off mute and just say thank you really quickly, that's totally fine, and we will go ahead and leave.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Remember, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, right? No is a full word, full answer, and don't feel guilty about it. You're doing what you're doing because you love yourself and your family member and your loved ones. So you're doing a great job.
Thank y'all so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful and that maybe you came away from this with new ideas or new traditions to try out this holiday season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all having me on and, letting me join y'all for this. This has been a lot of fun, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else did too.
Thank you guys. I'll go ahead and stay on if anyone has any questions, but we will see you guys next week.